Viewers, your eyes do not deceive you. Yes, Big Finish have released a Torchwood story based on the Torchwood SUV. And what's funny though is that Torchwood Salvage, written by Gareth David Lloyd, is not even the first story based around the Torchwood SUV. We had Torchwood SUV come out in late 2022, a story written by Ash Darby, and you know what? This one's actually really, really good. But Torchwood Salvage takes place in essentially the modern day. Torchwood has been disbanded for like the past 15, 16 years, and the Torchwood SUV has found itself in a scrap merchant's junkyard. So we've got Kira Revere, who's playing Jed, who has this scrapyard full of alien artifacts. He's trying to salvage stuff, and the crown jewel of his collection is the Torchwood SUV that he has spent months trying to break into, trying to get access to the onboard computer. And the onboard computer requires a password, it requires a Torchwood DNA fingerprint or a specific password, but Jed has been unable to break into it. However, enter teenagers Esther and Cody, played by Carly Enoch and Dewey Wykes. These are twin siblings who are on the run from their care home. Esther wants to find their parents and Cody wants to finish the latest series of his podcast. So they stumble across this junkyard belonging to Jed. They sneak in and they stumble across, amongst, Dalek technology, a Sontaran spaceship, they find the Torchwood SUV hiding under a tarp. They explore it and they are greeted to the onboard AI, voiced by Yanto Jones himself, Gareth David Lloyd, who also writes this story. Let's play a clip from Torchwood Salvage.
It's a space car, like the Wayfinder in The Gatekeepers.
Yeah, another relic from a forgotten TV show.
Torchwood.
Never heard of those cars. It's basically a pimped up SUV. It looks pretty worse for wear. Why would you collect all this stuff just to let it rust?
Don't touch it. It's covered in alien spores.
That's moss. What did you do?
Nothing. It did it on its own.
Please enter personnel ID or emergency override password.
Shit! It just spoke.
It wants a password. 280307.
Incorrect. One attempt remaining.
Why would it be our birthday?
There must be a clue. Keep looking. What even is this in the door?
An ashtray? This thing's older than it looks. There's one on that side too. Weird.
I'm glad to see the appreciation for Gareth David Lloyd in the chat. He's been very active in regards to writing for Torchwood. One of his standout releases in recent years has been the Torchwood Yanto trilogy. He wrote Tube Strike, Missing Molly, and Disco. These were like 3 consecutive monthly releases that came out last year. Missing Molly is really, really good. That's a great Yanto Jones story. But yeah, he's been a bit of a Big Finish Torchwood mainstay. He also starred in a recent Sixth Doctor Big Finish release as a Royal Navy captain in the 18th century, doing his best impression of Stewie Griffin from Family Guy. But yeah, Torchwood Salvage. So you've got these 2 siblings. Esther is definitely the one in charge, and Cody is neurodivergent. He's ASD, he's ADHD, he's OCD, he's collecting all of the letters. And what happens is that they do manage to get into the SUV's AI. They stumble across a notepad from Toshiko Sato in the glove compartment and use those clues in there to activate the AI properly, and they break out of Jed's scrapyard. But Jed is in pursuit because he wants to basically, this is his baby, this is his pet project, and he is killed in order to defend it, and he is killed in order to try and get his hands on it. So these 2 teenagers are definitely in trouble with Jed. And the passive aggression of the AI interface is very funny, and Gareth David Lloyd plays it really, really dryly. The interface is designed that way to, quote, make it sound less of a dick, and the back and forth between Esther and Cody and the Torchwood AI of the SUV was really, really cool. It's also very melancholic, Salvage, because they mentioned earlier that, it's the relic of an old TV show. That's in reference to a supernatural podcast that Cody listens to, and the release of this on the digital release of Torchwood Salvage includes a trailer for that fictional podcast, which is a really fun little Easter egg as part of the digital release. But with the Torchwood SUV being disconnected from the Torchwood satellite and the Torchwood network connections for like the past 15 years, it has no idea where Torchwood is, who's even still a member anymore. It has no idea what has happened in its absence. And the SUV remains with the AI essentially outliving the team that it's looking for, because the SUV wants to get back to Cardiff, it wants to get back home, and the teens are more than welcome to try, and the teens are more than happy to try and get there because they want to try and find their real parents in Cardiff. They've run away from the care home. And it's just this really nice, like, melancholic story about this SUV that has managed to, this SUV that doesn't have any ties to humanity anymore, but is still trying to search for that connection. And Esther and Cody, they have that connection right next to each other, but Cody's, severe neurodivergence and his quirks and his idiosyncrasies make it really difficult for Esther to get along with him. There's a pretty elongated segment of the story where Cody really wants a McDonald's. So even though Jed is chasing them, and Jed wants to kill them, and has blown up a petrol station in pursuit of the SUV, Cody is like, no, I want Mackey's and I want the burger plain. So they go through the drive-thru and they order it, but the burger's not plain, it's got a bit of onion on it. So Cody insists that they turn around and get it fixed and get the order resolved, while Jed is pursuing them and Esther's trying to get them to escape, and the SUV is like, I strongly advise against this. I can understand it being a pretty frustrating listen, because Cody's neurodivergence is so severe in this story that it's actively a liability for the pair, and that can be a sympathetic and frustrating way to navigate a story. But we're dealing with flawed and troubled teens in this story. They say and do stupid things. Esther can be hurtful and Cody can be difficult, but the script manages to rein them in at just the right time and make them self-aware enough of their flaws and their desire to be better. And I think that Gareth David Lloyd, while he plays Cody's neurodivergence a little bit strongly, he still manages to make you sympathize for this teenage pair. He makes you sympathize with these siblings. And there's a really lovely moment where Esther manages to get a good night's sleep, and when she's alone, what she does with that basically the only portion of the hour-long audio where she is alone and away from Cody, and what she does with that time, with that isolation, is a really lovely, impactful moment. It was really nice. I think that Cody's neurodivergence can sometimes act as a contrivance for the plot to keep it going, to make it last longer than it ideally should. But apart from that, I found it to be a really sympathetic portrayal of troubled teens, a really melancholic look at Torchwood in a metatextual way, as this show that has had its time 15-16 years ago, but is still managing to live on through these other means, i.e. Big Finish Torchwood audios, written and starring Gareth David Lloyd, or the Torchwood SUV as a character in the Doctor Who universe and the Whoniverse more broadly. I thought it was a really strong hour of audio. I thought it was really effective. I think that Jed as a character is a scary villain at first, but then the more we learn about him over the course of the story, the less interesting he becomes. I think he would have worked a lot better as a, Freddy Krueger or Michael Myers slasher type character, as opposed to trying to justify his existence and try and justify his belief system in the third act of the story. I think they could have made that a little bit more obscure than Gareth David Lloyd actually does manifest that in the story. But still, Torchwood Salvage was a surprisingly potent and effective drama. As someone who does love the Torchwood universe and still engages with it through the Big Finish audio dramas, I thought it was a really thoughtful piece of audio drama and pretty effective. I think this only works if you are a fan of Torchwood, if you have that connection with the Torchwood universe more broadly. I saw the chat get very sad when I mentioned Toshiko Sato earlier. If you're one of those people, Torchwood Salvage could very well be worthwhile for you. What's the Torchwood team's Mackey's order? I don't know. It's probably a lot smaller than it was a few years ago, on account of most of the team being dead. This is what I was talking about with the war between the land and the sea and why the tension's so high. Just because you're a main character doesn't mean you're making out of a Doctor Who spin-off, folks.